The topic of our lecture is English lexicography, variants and dialects of the English language. You know that English language has its standard English and variants of English language and its dialects. So there are different variations of the English language that are considered as main variants of English and local variants of English. Varieties of the English language peculiar to some districts and having no normalized literary form. As you see, the dialects of the standard English language are traced back to Old English dialects like Northern English, Western English dialect, Midland English dialect, Eastern, Southern, and Lowland or Scottish English dialects. Dialects of the standard English language considering about Scottish English, it is the second place, and Irish English, variation of English language. You know that it should be, of course, be noted that American English is not the only existing variant. So we know we have different variations of English language. And we should consider that the main variants of the English language can be differentiated according to different positions and courses, and every language allows different kinds of variations. Geographical variations, territorial variations, and stylistics and other variations. For historical and economic reasons, the English language has spread over vast territories. It is the national language of many countries. In England, it is standard English. It is their own language that are used both in orally and in written documentations. Standard English is the language of mass media. It is the language of newspaper, documentation, and diplomatic relations. The vastly used dialect or variant of the English language, it is the USA variant. It should, of course, be noted that American English is not the only existing variant. American English, it is not a language, it is a variation of the English language that is used in USA, in the United States of America. There are several other variants where difference from the British standard is normalized. There are Australia English, New Zealand English, Canada. Some provinces of Canada also use English. It is called Canadian English, Indian English. They are considered variants of the English language. And each of these has developed a literature of its own, characterized by peculiarities of phonetics, spelling, grammar, and vocabulary. According to standard English, it may be defined that norms of English, which is current and literary, used wherever English is spoken or understood. Standard English is speaking about standard English, it is the variety of most widely accepted and understood either within an English-speaking country or throughout the entire English-speaking world. So let us look through the variants of English. British English, Scottish English and Irish English. They are regional variants of English language. They are distinguished variants existing on the territory of United Kingdom or England. And there are some variations, as I have just spoken about that. They are considered as variants existing outside the British Islands. They are American English variant, Canadian, New Zealand English, South African English, and Indian English variants of English. Whereas British English is referred to the written standard English and the pronunciation known as received pronunciation, RP. Variants of the English in the United Kingdom, I have already mentioned they are Scottish, Irish, and Welsh also. So speaking about lexical peculiarities of Scottish English, has many more differences. Some semantic fields are structured differently in Scottish English and in British English. For example, the term minor in British English is used to denote a person below the age of 18 years. Minor gives the meaning of teenage, who are mostly under 18 years. While Scottish law distinguishes pupil between pupils and minors. They see the differences. That's why they use two words, pupils and minors. And here are some words used in Scottish English. They have equivalents in British English. For example, extortion, it is a Scottish English variant, which means blackmail. It is in general British English. Some more distinctiveness of Scottish English derived from the influence of other languages. So I want to note that not all English words are borrowed to the variants. And for example, Scottish variant of English use many words that are borrowed from different languages besides English, for example, Gaelic, Norwegian, French, etc. For example, the examples for Gaelic borrowings, for example, cairn, it means a pile of stones that marks the top of mountain or some other special place. Sporan means a small furry bag that hangs in front of a man's kilt as part of traditional Scottish dress. You see that many words has appeared in this or that variant of English according to the traditions and customs of this or that nation. And so here are some examples for Scottish words and expressions. For example, dinne means don't. Dinne, it is a Scottish word. Don't, it is a British word. We, small. Kirk, church. Lassie, girl. For example, if we want to say a small boy in Scottish, you can pronounce it as a wee boy, wee kid, for example. Or instead of pretty girl, you may use pretty lassie as Scottish variant of the English language. Many words which have the same form but different meaning in Scottish English and British English. For example, the word gate in Scottish English means road. But you know the gate, it means something different from the word road. As we have mentioned, the variants of English outside the British Islands, they are American English, Canadian English, Australian English, New Zealand English, South African English, as the English language is also used in Africa. It is Indian English also. They are considered as variants of English outside the British Isles. So let's look through some examples to Australian English. For example, the word truck is used instead of lorry in American English. The exposure to the different spelling of British and American English leads to a certain amount of spelling confusion. So, as you see, behavior and behavior, the pronunciation doesn't have many differences, but in spelling, U letter is omitted in American type of pronunciation. So the uniquely used Australian terms outback means to remote regional areas. Walkabout means a long journey of certain length. Bush means a native forested areas. So here are also, you can see some phonetic differences between the vowels O and IE, that ends of words, very common features of Cockney rhyming slang that are imported by migrants from London to Australia in 19th century. Unfortunately, the picture isn't seen. I don't know why, but anyway, there are some examples. You can see the differences between, for example, rhymes with look, cook. For example, I have a captain means to have a look. So this Captain Cook rhymes with look. So to have a Captain Cook or to have a captain means to have a look. Speaking about the variants of English that are used in New Zealand, that is called New Zealand English. New Zealand and close to Australian English, they are very close in their pronunciation. The only difference between New Zealand and British spelling is the endings, eyes, but the difference between S and Z. So New Zealanders use ISE ending. In English, you can consult some English dictionaries where IZE is used in the endings. So there are some many interesting examples that are used in New Zealand English, but they are borrowed from Maori population in order to describe flora, fauna, and natural environment. For example, kiwi and tui, they are the names of birds. Shellfish, hoki, the names of fish. Kauri, rimu, the names of native trees, and many others. Here are given the words that are unique to New Zealand English or shared with Australian English. For example, bach, a small holiday home, often only with one or two rooms. or simple construction, with simple construction, a little house where people can spend their holiday. Another example for toothpath, for pavement. Togs, for it is used as swimming costume. Here are given New Zealand idioms that are used in New Zealand. It will be maybe interesting for you, and you can look it through. Now I want to draw your attention to American variant of English, and here are some examples for American English and British English. If you go to this website, ThoughtCo, there are many examples are given to American and other variants of the English language, which I want to share it now. For example, there are some examples. For example, mad. In English, it is used angry. I am mad means in English, I am angry. Fall, autumn. Hood, bonnet. Cookie, biscuit. I like cookies. I like biscuits. Drugstore, chemists. Аптека. The movies, the cinema. So you can find many words. The list is very large. For example, sidewalk, pavement, mail, post, etc. Let's go to the pronunciation of Scottish English. Here is the flag of Scotland, and the differences are huge in Scotland. In Glasgow, which is the capital of Scotland, the Scottish variant of English is also used. Examples for Scottish vowels, and it's different with English vowels are given. For example, I, A are used with consonant sounds V, Z, Z, or by R. Professor Wells, in his works, found it and investigated their differences and similarities, and made the list of the words that can differ from the English standard language. For example, that's the food and goose sets have the same vowel, centralized oo, but in the word, for example, English is the pronunciation of the word mouse, but in Scottish, they pronounce it differently, moose. Words like house, about, round are pronounced oo, for example, house, whose, about, boot, round, round, etc. They pronounce oo instead of ow sound. This is the differences between Scottish and English vowel sounds. To look through the consonants, I want to note when I was studying in Cambridge, our professor was pronouncing some words, for example, the words, question words, when, what, where, for example. In English, we never pronounce he, when, but Scottish people pronounce it as when. H is pronounced between w. When, what, Hawaii, etc. So here you can see some other differences between Scottish and American ways of pronouncing consonants. Here are some examples for Scottish English. For example, that's me down the road means I'm off. Listen, please, and try to pronounce it.
That's me down the road. That's me down the road.
Now the example.
Are you not coming? Are you not coming?
Try to pronounce it.
You ken Angus? I'm Scunnerium.
Here are differences I think you have already felt. Now let's go to the pronunciation differences and vowels and consonants differences in Welsh English. For example, they use a long monophthong O instead of O, or they use O instead of O. For example, we pronounce it as Wales, they pronounce it as Wales. They pronounce it as Wales. Is pronounced. Englishmen pronounce it as nation. Wales people pronounce it as nation. So is used instead of a. Consonants, for example, in the words tube and few, y is dropped. It is pronounced as tube and foo. Y is not pronounced. And here are some examples for the pronunciation of Welsh English. Listen and try to pronounce it.
Last night you got absolutely steaming. Last night you got absolutely steaming.
Listen and repeat.
When I go to London, I travel on the tube. When I go to London, I travel on the tube.
All right, let's go further to Irish way of pronouncing English words. They also great changes between English variation. You may feel some very similarities with American English. For example, got pronounced with got. Pronounced of the first vowel, anything, anybody, anything with a is very different from most other varieties of English. Some words, the pronunciation of th and t. Example 1, bath. The pronunciation is mostly bath, bad. Th and th. Many examples you may find from the list, and you can listen and repeat.
I'm going to have a nice bath now.
Do you feel the pronunciation of th? Englishmen pronounce it as bath.
Bath.
I'll try to find it in American. Sorry, there is no American. way of pronunciation. You may feel the English pronunciation and compare it with Irish.
bath, bath,
Now listen to Irish variant of pronunciation.
I'm going to have a nice bath now. I'm going to have a nice bath now.
Bath.
That's not fair. That's not fair. She's got some mouth on her. She's got some mouth on her.
Pay attention to the pronunciation of the word mouth.
Mouth, mouth.
Mouth. But in Irish
She's
pronunciation,
got some mouth on her.
mouth on her.
She's got some mouth on her.
Here are many more examples are given. You can try to listen to it and repeat. So the last is a northern variant of English. Here are some information about Ireland. That is situated in the territory of England. It is a northern Ireland. So vowels and consonants also have differences between English and Standard English and Northern Ireland English. Dropping is general, for example. Butter, water is similar to American pronunciation. So now let us feel it.
Butchers don't cut the meat to the customers anymore. Butchers don't cut the meat to the customers anymore.
The word butchers. Listen it in English version.
Butchers, butchers.
Do you feel the difference? Butchers and butchers.
I did see him. I did see him.
Now the English pronunciation.
I.
In a more example.
Can you pass me the butter and the water, please? Can you pass me the butter and the water, please?
Notice the pronunciation between butter and water. Now listen to it in its original English version.
Butter, butter.
Now the word.
Water, water, water.
Can you pass me the butter and the water, please?
Water, water. So many more interesting examples are given in this website where you can find differences between the British English and its variations. In conclusion, I want to note that English is the national language of England proper, the USA, Australia, some provinces of Canada, some parts of Africa and India. It was also at different times imposed on the inhabitants of the former and British colonies and protectorates, as well as other Britain and US dominated territories where the population has always stuck to its own mother tongue. British English, American English, and Australian English are variants of the same language because they serve all spheres of verbal communication. But their structural peculiarities, especially morphology, syntax, and word formation, as well as their Word stock and phonetic systems are essentially the same. American and Australian standards are slight modifications of the norms accepted in British Isles. The status of Canadian English has not yet been established. That's all for today.